everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Korea This Week. I'm your host, Sang Kim, and today we have someone that you haven't seen before. Hyoshin, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Okay. Hi, my name is Hyoshin Kim. I study business from Kyung University, and I'm currently in Washington, D.C. as Asan Fellow. Thanks for having me here.
Great. So Hyoshin is one of our very hardworking interns that we have at KEI, and we're all very happy to have Hyoshin this semester and helping us with a lot of things. So today, I actually want to start by talking about South Korea's college entrance exam. And of course, Suneung, known in Korean, is this Thursday, and it's such a big deal in South Korea. So this year, over 548,000 of students will be taking the nationwide exam. And this is very different than how we have it in the United States, where people in the U.S. can take SAT or ACT exams multiple times, and often they do take it, I think two to three times before they actually get into college. But Hyoshin, could you tell us a little bit about how Suneung is different than how it is in the United States?
Sure. Like the SAT in the US, you can only take Suneung once a year.
Right.
So it just determines the students go to the college or not. So according to national statistics, high school seniors sleep 5.4 hours and study over 11 hours a day. So it's very intensive.
Right.
So after finishing the school, they go to cram school, take another lecture from cram school, and coming back to home, they don't rest. Just they review what they learned that day and do the homework and preview the contents for tomorrow. So it's very intense.
Right. And they study that much because the score they get on the exam determines, like you said, whether they go to college or not, or which university they would get into, right? Of course, it's a very competitive system where they want to attend the top universities. And with that much pressure, I'm sure the security around who makes the questions and how the tests are handled is a big issue as well. So could you tell us a little bit about the security around the test makers?
Absolutely. Every September, almost about 500 teachers and professors across the South Korea are selected and driven to the mountainous location of the province Gangwon. And there they draw the question and correct the contents on the test. So their phones are all taken by the place, and all the contacts from the outside are all banned. So in 2017, there was a serious earthquake in province Pohang, so that the Suneung had been delayed for a week. So for the delay, all these people had to stay in the Gangwon province. So after the finishing Suneung, not only students were happy, but also these people were really happy to feel freedom.
Yeah, I read a report where the teachers who make the exams, they're not even allowed to tell their family members where they're going or what they're going away for. So they would often say, I'm just traveling, or I'm just going somewhere for a couple of days. Right. And then also they don't get to leave until the exam is over, right? Because the security, and they don't want to have any leak whatsoever regarding the questions. Right. So it is very, very intense every year. So let's talk about the actual day of the exam. So could you tell us a little bit about the atmosphere around the exam day, which is this Thursday?
Okay. In the morning, Hube will come to in front of the gate, who are the fresh year of the high school. So they come there and they cheer up the seniors and sing, chant, and hold the placards and cheer up seniors like that. And also they serve the hot chocolate or tea for seniors to feel comfortable to take the test. So also parents really pray in front of the gate for the seniors and their siblings. Actually, I took the Suneung 6 years ago. I still remember the moment I was going to the test site with the father. So he said, I'm really proud of you, son, and you'll really do great. And no matter how hard the test is you can do it. So, but he seemed more nervous than me. So, also on that day, the atmosphere is really silent, and parents will also be nervous.
Right, and it's almost like, of course, the students who take the exam have support from the underclassmen and their parents, but it's almost like a national day, right? Because it's a nationwide exam. They also get support from the government and also local authorities as well, right?
Yes. So, of course, the governments put a lot of effort to help the students on that day. So local governments can expand the transportation system, and also the police officers can serve the kind of taxi service for the students who were running late for the tests. So more surprisingly, even if there is a car accident, if there is a test taker inside of the car, the police officer will investigate the accident after they give the test takers the ride to the test site. Right. It's really amazing.
And it's it's kind of funny that you mentioned the police as a taxi service.
Yeah.
Of course, they shouldn't take that as an advantage, but I do see a photo or report at least one case a year where the student is running late and the police officer they give them a ride to the test site because, like you said, it's a once a year type of event. What about I also heard about something about the listening test.
Oh yes, right. Throughout the day, it's very silent and quiet because there is a English comprehensive test, and there are both reading comprehension and the listening comprehension. So during the listening comprehension, all the airplanes stop for the 30 or 40 minutes during the test to keep students from getting distracted.
Right, and this is, of course, only possible in South Korea when there's only one time zone. And it's not something we can do in the U.S. where, we have multiple time zones and a lot more air traffic. So I also heard that because people are so hoping to do well, there are a lot of tradition and there are a lot of superstitions that they believe in. Could you share some of those?
Oh, yeah. There are two big traditions. First of all, there's tradition that people give the students called yot, which is Korean rice sticky bar. So if they feel that with the sticky bar, it can stick to the exam, that it means that they can pass the exam. So they usually give the students to wish to pass the exam. And on the other hand, there is a superstition that students may not eat the seaweed soup called 미역국, because seaweed is pretty slippery. That people believe that they cannot stick to the exam, that they can slide to the exam, fail to the exam. So actually, my favorite food is a seaweed soup, 미역국. So I asked my mother to cook the 미역국 on the test exam day, but she didn't do that because she was really worried that I'm gonna fail the exam.
Right. So basically, anything that's slippery that people would just not eat, even though it's not scientifically proven, obviously, but just so that it could be a lucky wishes for them. So with that said, you said you took Sunang 6 years ago.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for the students who are taking it this year?
It's always nervous, but I would say that please do not lose focus on the test, even if you felt the task is really difficult, because it is a relative evaluations that if you feel it's difficult, other people must feel it's difficult as well. So never lose the focus and just keep concentrating on the test, and you'll get a great success.
Right. And I also want to tell them, make sure you get good night of sleep, because it's an 8-hour back-to-back test, and of course if you didn't sleep, you fall asleep, you lose focus. So I really want to emphasize sleeping well before the exam. Right. So thank you for sharing your experience with us, and we really wish all the students good luck. And next, I want to talk about another major topic for this week. I'm sure you're hearing about this, seeing this, and of course we talked about it multiple times on the Facebook Live as well. And that is, of course, dysomnia, which is the military intelligence sharing between South Korea and Japan. So there are multiple high-level defense meetings taking place this week, both in Seoul and also Bangkok. And just to name some of them, U.S. Joint Chief of Staff General Mark Milley will arrive in Seoul for the military committee meeting. And then there's also security consultative meeting involving the U.S. Secretary of Defense in Seoul as well. And of course, there's Korea-Japan Defense Ministry meeting in Bangkok later this week as well. So those are all 3 separate meetings, but we can all assume that they will all talk about dysomnia at some point, because with the expiration being next week, and there's no sign of both Korea and Japan changing their stances on not renewing the pact. So instead of because we talked about it multiple times, I don't want to spend too much time on where we are, but I do want to get what South Korean public think about the issues. So Hyoshin, could you tell us a little bit about the public opinion on this issue?
Yeah, I would quote public opinion polls by MBC, major news media in South Korea. The poll said that 52.1% of South Koreans believe that South Korea should not renew dysomnia, and while the only 37.5% opposed to the argument. And this is not big different than the original survey conducted in August, right after the decision. So also, there is the boycott on the Japanese consumer goods are still ongoing. So there is another poll said that 77% of South Koreans said that they are still participating on boycott on Japanese consumer goods, while only 22% of South Koreans just stopped the boycott on Japanese consumer goods. So it shows that Korea and Japan relationships doesn't seem it will get better anytime soon,
right? And we all know what the government stances are, right? South Korean government clearly said that they're not willing to renew their intelligence sharing agreement unless Japan takes a significant stance on the issues. And of course, the Japanese government also is very clear on not willing to improve on Japan-Korea relations. And with the higher level U.S. military officials traveling to both countries and probably talking about these issues, I'm not really sure if that would change anything. But with that said, we'll have to wait and see what they discuss during the meeting this week. And we'll have more of that next week as well. So that's it for the news this week. Hyoshin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next Monday at 3 p.m.